right, so welcome back to Multifamily Live podcast. We have Brent Bowers with us today. Hey, Brent, how you doing?
I'm good, Jason. How are you?
Oh, we're great, man. So we were just talking. So Brent's got a 1, 3, and 5-year-old. We got a 3, 5, and 7-year-old. So we know the roams. We're all just rocking and rolling through the awesome life we have here, man. So psyched to have you. So Brent's an Army officer with 8 years of service. He spent a great deal of time away from his family. And he knew he needed to make some changes in order to be more present with his wife and children. So in 2007, that's when real estate began. He started purchasing his first home, and he just began exploring real estate just overall as a way to support his family while being able to enjoy more time with them as well. In a short amount of time, he was able to expand his business, hire a team, and most importantly, get to the goal, spend quality time with his family while still working hard and helping others. Brent invests in many different types of real estate. His favorite investment strategies by buying and selling vacant land. And he enjoys sharing this expertise in the area with his coaching clients. And Brent chooses to live his life based on Bob Berg's quote. Had Bob Berg on the show. He's awesome.
Really?
Your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. He is passionate about helping other people find success in real estate investing, particularly in land investments. So actually, where are you located?
I'm out in Florida now. I just actually moved back from Colorado to Florida in July.
Wow.
A couple months ago.
Awesome. Good. Well, we actually just, as we said, moved down from New Jersey to Tennessee. It's been an awesome experience. And so land, right? You get on this point, start finding land. What was that first deal like? What was the point that you found this as your core focus or the main piece that you really like to tackle?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the first deal was, I just couldn't believe that it was that easy. I had already owned probably, I think, 6 rentals at that time. One of them was a triplex. I had wholesaled several houses. I hadn't got into multifamily yet, besides my triplex. And it was incredible. I literally sent out a bunch of postcards to the tax delinquent list. My phone blew up. I only had time to return like 20 of the phone calls. And out of those 20, I did 2 deals. I was still an Army officer, so I was working like crazy. And that first deal, I purchased the land for $285. The seller told me the price. I didn't even have to negotiate. And I didn't know what it was worth. I called a real estate office right down the road, and that same realtor made me an offer for $5,000. So I literally spent $285 on a Tuesday, made $5,000 on a Wednesday. And I was like, there's no way this has got to be too good to be true. There's no way I can keep doing this. I did another one that weekend, and then I just kept rinsing and repeating and rinsing and repeating. And now I have an amazing team helping me with it.
What do you really target? Like, what's the focus here? So I would assume that you want something with some development value right here, or maybe something that's going to add to someone's overall existing land right there. Is that really the core focus, or what do you go after?
Jason, I'm probably like going to be the least complicated, least analytical guy you've ever had on your show. Your listeners are going to be like, this guy, he's crazy. I target land at discounts. People ask me all the time, what kind of land do you not buy? The not profitable stuff. Oh, and by the way, if there's environmental issues, I won't buy that either. I look for a piece of land that I can get at a discount and turn around and sell it for a little bit more.
So I'll ask the follow-up question to that, because usually when people complicate stuff, right, what happens? They never get started. So this is a good place to be here. But how do you look at the discount and say, okay, this is a discount?
Yeah. So what I'll do is I look at what the stuff's selling for in the area. I had someone the other day, one of my students asked me, hey, the county has classified it as wasteland. Should I buy this stuff? And I was like, well, look at other land in that area and see what it's going for. And literally just, shoot them a low ball offer at like literally an anchor price. If you can get it at a discount, 100% buy it. So how do I figure out what it's worth? I look at Zillow, I look at Redfin, I look at landwatch.com, and I see what the stuff's going for. And if it's going for $10,000 an acre and I want to be somewhere less than 50 cents on the dollar, I'm going to offer $5,000 an acre. Or, a couple of years ago, I used to get literally land at 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar before all this COVID stuff started happening and people started pushing out in the boonies and wanting more acreage and getting away from people. They stopped going to Disney World and they start buying campers, which is nuts. Now I've seen literally land go from a buyer's market to a seller's market in like the last 18 months. So I'm paying a little bit more, but here's the thing, I can sell it easier and for more.
Yeah, I love that. So you're looking today on your land option, of course, multifamily live, targeted multifamily. Any advice for someone who's looking at multifamily development, right, or looking at parts and part? How would they target the right piece of land to really accompany a multifamily project?
There's a couple plays you can make on that. There's so many niches in land, really. I know people that literally only buy land with a house on 5 acres where they can subdivide the other 4 acres and flip the house and own the land for free. You can also go and see what the county zones that land for. And I'm not huge on zoning. I just stick to really simple land, residential land. But you can go in and let's just say, what's the zoning for land where you're at? What's it called? What's the 3-digit code for the
for just land itself? I'm
sorry,
new to this area for
multifamily. Sorry, I said that wrong. What's it like, RAS or?
It's going to be RM, residential multifamily, and then it's going to be the number of density of units you can get on the acre. So say it's a 12 or an 18 or 24, depending on what's the density allowed.
So RM 12 for a 12 unit, right?
Correct.
So that's all you have to do. And every county is a little bit different. So you look for that RM classification on ListSource or PropStream and only pull list that's already zoned for RM or could be rezoned easily for RM. That's one way you can narrow down into a couple counties. And that's what I find with land. I got to be in a couple counties because you run out of land pretty quick that's zoned RM. So you might have to do it statewide, but that's one way you can focus just on multifamily land right there.
And you're looking just like a list source for going for lists like that, or is there some other place where you're really targeting your list?
ListSource, I use Priced, PRYCD, which is really cool because it tells you like what the land's worth, what their estimation is. I use PropStream. I've really been heavily using Priced lately, and then I actually just contracted another company to take care of all my marketing, and they're big on data tree. So there's so many list pullers out there. They're all about the same if you ask me.
Yeah, and so upsides, right? No tenants, no improvements you have to make. So nothing you have to do on that part. Talk to us the downside. So what are some of the pitfalls here that hopefully people can watch out for, or some of the things that they look out for in terms of when you're contacting potential seller, besides just what could be some of the typical things that are out there?
Yeah, let me give you some downsides. You pay a lot of taxes on the money that you receive when you flip land or you seller finance land. It's a huge tax bill at the end of the year. That's why I have to buy multifamily. That's why I have to be in multifamily syndicates. And because that money where I own the building, now I can depreciate all the improvements and I can virtually pay no taxes because I take the money from our land, or some of it. I don't take all of it. I take some of the money and put it into buildings, my office building, our 19-unit apartment complex, houses, rentals, and I completely eliminate my tax bill. So that's the downside.
No, it's a good one though, right? Because we all want to be able to be paying more tax when we're doing the thing, and we want to use the powers of real estate to get back our depreciation, right? So which is awesome, which is one of the powers of multifamily itself. So the 19-unit talk about, or your rental house, are they targeted to Florida where you are now?
No, the Colorado Springs is where my office and the 19 unit is. We bought it. It was very rough. When we bought it, out of the 19 units, I think 10 were occupied, and there was no leases. If they could afford $600, they got to move in, and that was the last time they ever paid again. So we've been renovating that now. It's almost taken 2 years. It was quite the bite to take off, but it's another downside. How do we comp land? It's like a blank canvas. Sometimes people can't get over that. That's why I keep it so simple. You can look at the value add. What's it going to be worth if we put 44 townhomes on it? What's going to be worth if we put 40 single family homes, or is it zoned for apartment complex? That's where people can get in the weeds and never even pull the trigger. So I'd say that's another downside, like really just getting in analysis paralysis. I hate those two words.
That's most of everything with life and also real estate, right? So you just think about anything, right? So if we're going to analyze every piece of it, we'll never get started, because real estate, just with land, we could go in every different direction with this conversation, right? There's a million different ways we could win. There's a million different ways that we could do a deal, not do a deal, do some part of a deal, right? But if we don't do the action steps to figure out the best questions, right? Because when our multifamily journey started, I realized that I'm never going to figure out all the questions. I got to do to find out the questions I need to get to the better answers, right? And that's most of this. And even the 19 unit, right? If you try to figure out all these parts, but like, okay, what do I do with these tenants running apart without getting it started, right? And now you're turning around the deal, you would have never gotten started on the deal. You said, oh, well, this is too many questions. I'm not going to get started. How did you find that 19 unit up there, or what made it stand out?
You know what? How I found that one actually was with a cold caller I had hired, and funny story. She was actually ripping me off. We were using Dialer back then. I think this was in 2000. Well, we buy this thing in 2019 timeframe. She would call the first call and then take about a 45-minute break, and I could hear the TV in the background. So she would make one call and then leave the line connected so she could run the clock out, because I would pay her by the hour. But then I noticed, like, you're barely making any phone calls. So she was actually stealing from the company, but got this lead from this guy. He's like, yep, I'm cashing out. He was actually literally moving to Tennessee. Actually, he'd already lived in Tennessee. He had completely left it and was a long distance landlord. So it was like a perfect deal.
Those are awesome. You find that point where it's people say, well, how do you find deals today? It's like there's always opportunities out there, but you have to find where it meets. Like, okay, yes, it is a seller's market, right? That doesn't mean every seller understands that narrative or every seller is in position to take advantage of that opportunity, right? So even with land, right, there's people here, maybe that 245, I think it was, purchase you made in the beginning right there. Those are out there because there's someone out there who's getting hit with some kind of bill right now. It's like, man, I don't have $245, but I wish I had Brent Bowers hit me with a letter so it can literally just take this problem away. I don't care what they do. I just don't want the problem, right? And so real estate is solving problems. How do you solve problems, create solutions, right? And so I think the emphasis of looking at the market cycle is that, yeah, okay, it might take more time to dig and find a deal today. It might take a little more effort to get to that deal. Might cost a little bit more, but there's a ton of more liquidity out there in the market for you on the back end if you want to go sell it, or if you want to find investors to come into your deal, or even find lenders. I mean, everything in between. So I think we look at both sides of the cycle. It always comes full circle. How are you using your approach now today in terms of really gauging your focus? Just, you said keeping it simple, rolling through. Anything changing as we're looking at the dynamics of course, I guess the need to build out there of how you're focusing?
Absolutely. As far as how we're focusing, we still buy the recreational land, the stuff that's, like, call it on the teeter totter, like it's teeter tottering right outside of the path of growth. I love that stuff because I can still buy that at massive discounts and turn around and sell or finance it to buyers that want to have the American dream, just own a piece of land. And Americans think on payments, like, how much is it going to cost me each month? When they get a raise, they go and buy a new vehicle because now they can afford that extra $300, $400, $500 a month, or they buy a piece of land. I mean, these government stimulus checks have been incredible for my land business because people have been buying land with it. They're like, oh, inflation, I'm going to park it in land, something called land banking, or they'll send an extra $3,000 to their note to pay down on their land note. But one thing I'm starting to see is there is such a demand right now for new houses, affordable housing, apartments, that these developers can't find land fast enough. So we've been working on, probably 5 large parcels of land right now that people have raised their hand and said, I want to sell. And we're talking to planners, making sure the city planning department, making sure that, what are your goals? What are you guys needing more of? Is it single family? Is it multifamily? Is it townhomes? And matching that development with a real estate investment trust or a hedge fund or a builder that's looking to buy these. So we've now started kind of fishing for whales while we're making the predictive cash flow over here with the recreational land or the buildable lots in town, because that's great. It's you can get to $5, $10, $15, $20,000 a month of passive income very easily, and that's a great living. But now we're also looking at other things that can pull us a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 assignment fee on one deal.
See, that's perfect. And that was part of my conversation, wondering if you've gone down that route, right? Because of course, on the same side, right, you find that great piece of land. Not every person can see the vision like you, saying, "Oh, well, you could go in there and develop this. I'll get entitlement in place. I'll get zoning on board. I get everybody here. It's a wrap package. All you got to do is go there, get a shovel, and start digging, and let's go to work, right?" And that person's like, "Sweet." Because now you open a whole other buyer pool that's like, that's what I want, right? Because there's always both sides. Or just like anything like we just talked about here, that person gets stopped, like, oh man, it's gonna take so much work. You come here, sure. Now you got, it's cool because you get the roll, right? You got your 5, 15, your 20K things coming in that are rolling with the land, just plucking it off to people here. And now you can go the other way here. Now you do a couple of these, and that really sets the narrative with the team. So that's awesome, man.
Do one a year, and that's like literally generational wealth on one of these. And I evolved into this. I didn't just run out there and say, I'm going to do developments today. No, I did about 287 boring land deals. And I say boring, but I love it because it's predictable. It's like, I call it the McDonald's method. Squirt 2 little squirts of ketchup, put 2 pickles on it, put the buns, and go to the next. That's something a virtual assistant in another country that barely speaks English can do for $5 an hour. Like, it literally, we do the assembly line. And you said it best there. If a little bit ago, like, if people think there's no deals, it's a seller's market, they're right. But I don't care what market it is. There's always deals. There's always, you can either buy it low and sell a little higher, or, buy it and then ride it up and value add. There's just so many ways to work these deals, and it's just so much opportunity. I just say for the listeners, just get started with one thing, focus on that and build it and automate it, delegate it, and then do the next thing. And hopefully it does get boring, because that means you're probably making money in it.
Yeah, I was just going to say the simple side of it is the key, right? Because we all want things to be so complex, because our brains are just, it has to be complex. It's got to be harder than this, right? So I got to, Brent, it's got to be harder, man. Tell me how I can make this harder. Tell me how I can make this hard to never do it, right? But if you just get back to the easy part, let's just say, okay, this is what you do, and you can do it consistently. You set up a team, and you can figure out how to do the next piece that goes with it, right? That's how you win. And so many times we look at the other way. Oh, well, let's make it more complicated. Let's see if I can do this crazy thing where I'll set this up, I'll get zoning, I'll do 57 Airbnb little short-term, trailers out there or something, and you're just like, and you never get started because it's so complex you can't even explain it to yourself. Right?
That's so true. How am I going to get to $27,000 a month?
Yeah,
brother, how many land deals have you done? I haven't done one yet. Well, let's think about the first one. Like, you must be talking to my students, because they're like, it can't be this easy. It can't be just picking a county and getting a list of landowners and then communicating with that list with a postcard or a text message or a phone call, and then getting that land for as little as possible. And I mean, stuff like where sometimes you just got to give an offer that makes you want to throw up. And you ask how many real estate investors, like, sometimes I have to ask I have 2 acquisition managers. It's like, all right, when's the last time you got uncomfortable making an offer? Oh, it's been a while. Well, that is not what I want to hear. I want you to be uncomfortable too.
Yeah.
And then we sell it for a little bit more. That's it.
You got to take that first step. We're like, so in our mastermind, we talk about that first step, get you out of the gate. You're talking about, working for your 100-miler here. It takes it with one step. If you worry about mile 100, you're never going to get out of the gate because your mind's never been there, right? So you're like, oh, this must be too much. But if you just get that first step out, get yourself 5 miles in, say, okay, I just got to get 5 miles in, figure it out. Okay, you get 5 miles, you get another 10 miles. Okay, let me just get there and figure it out. Let me get to the next aid station, next bridge. Let me just get 200 steps, 500 steps, run to the river. Let me just get to that next aid station, all of a sudden 100 miles, right? So it was never 100 miles, but it was 100 miles because you just said, okay, let me just take that step and figure it out. And that's most of everything that happens with life. That is so good.
And that's one reason why, like, I haven't ran 100 miles yet. I want to just, like, I don't even know if I can do that. And I like, it's just, that seems like such an accomplishment, but it starts with 1 mile at a time, or one step at a time. We call them small wins. Each step is a small win.
100%. Brent, I really enjoyed the conversation, man. So for everyone listening here, talk to us a little more about how they find you, how to connect with you, all the good stuff.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Jason. It's great to talk to other like-minded guys. I really enjoy jumping on these podcasts. So as far as how to find me, if you're interested in, like, checking out land as a good addition to your already existing business, or maybe you're just getting started, check out thelandsharks.com. That's thelandsharks.com. Schedule a call. My team will see what your goals are, and if we're a good fit, I'd be honored to coach you. And if maybe you just want to check more into this and you don't want to talk to anybody, head over to my YouTube channel. I just launched it, Brent Bowers.
Love it, man. I was thinking it was going to be like Land Rhino with the rhino behind us. So
it should. You know why that rhino's behind me, right? It's to remind me that we got to keep charging. Remember, that thing's got 3-inch thick skin. He takes torpedoes. He's not a cow eating grass, getting fat.
I'll tell you a quick story. So I've had 2 bulldogs in my life. The one lived to 15, and Jack the Rhino. Well, I named him there. And I actually opened a brewery, and I called the parent company. I opened and sold a brewery, called the parent company Jack the Rhino Brewing Company. I was like, I can't use this name. So on that front, I ended up calling it Alphabet City Brewing Company over in New York City. But it's still, I ended up having that dog. I love that dog. He was our mascot. I literally had him on the part. He handled customer relations. People would call the dog, try and call the dog off the website. It was ridiculous. So that was some good times, but I always had the Rhino at my heart here because he was literally a Rhino. He'd just come in the door and just bowl through. If he wanted something, we'd just go for it, right? Didn't matter what was in front of him. I'd see him drag tables with a leash just because he wanted to go get a snack or something. It was crazy. But yeah,
I wish I could have met him. That's a great name, Jack the Rhino. I think you should change the name back to Jack the Rhino.
Yeah, I've passed on to others now. So on that front, I think it could always have a reboot, right? It could always be another life cycle of it, man.
That's right, because I don't even remember what you said you changed the name to, but I remember Jack the Rhino.
Yeah, I love it. Brent, thank you so much, man. Super appreciate your time.